Okay, so once you have all of your 5 font ideas down, I only have 2, you're going to have 5, you're going to pick which one you want. For my first idea, I liked my Enchanted Land R right here. So in your sketchbook, or if you're at home on a piece of paper, this is how you're going to set up your page. So now that we've chosen the letter and the font that we like, now we need to start coming up with themes or ideas for our illuminated letter. So a couple things to go over. You're going to have whatever font style for your letter that you're going to have. You're going to have some kind of border or frame. Depending on what your design is, you might add texture on the frame. You might have your letter coming out on top of the frame. You might have elements in the letter, off the letter, kind of whatever you want based on your theme. So before you start sketching your ideas, let me get this all the way up. This is how you're going to outline your page. So they don't have to be perfect lines. If you're crazy like me, I like to have a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, it's okay. So how you want to set it up is, at the top, you're going to write 3 themes for illuminated letter. So we're starting to learn how to draw. A lot of people still aren't maybe completely comfortable with it. So I divided it up like this. So on the left side is where you're going to do your 3 different themes or ideas. And then on the right side, you're going to write some notes down. Okay? So what I first did was I sectioned out my paper. So since the front of your sketchbook is a shape of a rectangle, I tried to make this side close to rectangles, and I wanted to have 3, okay? So I made sure I had enough room for 3 different themes, and then over here for each one I have theme name, details, and then colors, okay? So you may not be able to fill this out until you do this, or maybe you have an idea in your head and you want to write all this down before you start doing this. As you're drawing, if you wrote down a lot of things and then your design changes, that's okay. This is all part of the brainstorming process, okay? And you may start out with a theme that you're like, this is awesome, this is what I want to do. And then when you take it to your cover, if you want to change it a little bit, that's okay. All right, so like I said, I started out with choosing the letter or the font that I wanted. What's great about this is I based it off of what I got off of dafont.com, but you can change it. You can do whatever you want to it. So I decided I liked this R, and I wanted to do some kind of nature theme. So I didn't know it was necessarily going to be wood and plants. I just started drawing with my pencil. And as I started drawing my R, and I drew my border, I kind of decided I want kind of some plant leaf looking designs on here. And then I thought, I think I'm going to have a plant look like it's growing out of the end of the R. And then I decided if I've got some leaves on here, leaves are typically on trees, and you've got tree bark, so I put in just a few lines to make it look like tree bark. And then over here, I made some kind of shapes of leaves to look like it's growing off of the R. Okay, so if I zoom in closer here. So in this design, the whole thing is filled. Okay, if you draw a really small letter and a couple of things randomly, it doesn't look like it's filled and it's kind of a complete design, you need to keep drawing. Okay, so once I did this in pencil, I went back over it with Sharpie. Remember, you can have really thin lines and then you can have thicker areas. So I went back over the frame of my illuminated letter to make it thicker. And I also went around my R and made the outside lines thicker too. Okay, so then I went over here and I said, My theme was wood and plants. And then my details were leaves on the letter, texture on the R to look like wood, and I wanted plants to be growing around it. And then colors, you can put them on here, but I want you to get your overall design on here, because whichever one you pick, I want you to put all of your detail in your final one. So colors I plan on using, kind of colors you can find in nature, some greens, browns, yellow, and then I want to use black pen to make sure I don't lose any of my lines on there. Okay, so if I come down to this next one, I can start a new one. So I'm going to take my pencil, or actually, because you can't see it very well, do not go with pen. You cannot erase pen, but in order for everybody to see, it's easier for me to do pen here. So I'm going to go ahead and make my border. You could have your border kind of come out if you want. You can do different shapes, different textures. Maybe there's something swooping right here. And then I'm going to have a letter. So I'm going to go ahead and just, from my memory, I'm going to do a K here. It kind of looks funky. So with your letter, you can kind of tell it's a K, maybe it's something else. So for this, I'm going to do some different flowers on here. So I could do flowers around the K. I could do flowers inside of the K. I could have flowers overlapping on the outside of here. So since I'm using pen, I'm not going to be able to erase. So maybe I go down here, kind of off to the side. I want to make what looks to be like a sunflower. So I'm going to kind of put some texture in for some seeds. And then I'm going to start kind of doing my petals here, kind of overlapping. I could take my micron pens and put in a lot of texture in the petals. And so it's overlapping the K. And then I could come over here, maybe make some kind of like a little trellis with some leaves on it. And then maybe I have my K extend down and have leaves growing up on my K. Maybe I have another flower up here that's really tiny. Like a little Gerber daisy here. And kind of repeat that pattern. And so I'm going to fill this whole thing up, okay? You might start drawing, like this vine right here. I may draw this and go, I drew that before. I'm drawing my flowers. I don't really like that. So you can just erase it and then keep going. So sometimes you'll have an initial idea, and then as you're drawing and sketching, it can kind of change, and that's okay. You just don't want to spend like an hour on one of these, okay? Because the whole point of this is to get 3 different ideas. So say you want to do nature, do 3 different types of nature. Maybe you want to do one based on sports, one on nature, and then like a space theme or something like that, okay? So as you're kind of designing this, on the details, you could even list out some like different kinds of flowers, different types of vines, different, maybe I'm going to have like a little pond of water in here. Or if it's space, you can list off planets, stars, different colors, shooting stars, the sun, all kinds of different things. Okay? So you want to have 3 different ones. So you want to do them all in pencil first, and then you can come over and do the details, and then you can come back over with Sharpie marker. Okay? So as you're doing some research, again, don't be researching like 10 minutes on every single one of these and not drawing, okay? Because you want to have your initial idea, come up with 2 other ones. Maybe you'll change your mind, maybe you won't. And then you'll pick the one that you like, and then we'll be able to do the final one. All right. So I'm going to leave this up here so everybody can kind of set their page up, and then you can start doing this, and I'm going to take a look around to see how everybody's doing.